As the aircraft taxis into Beirut airport, there's no hint of the catastrophe about to engulf Lebanon. All eyes are on May Chidiac, enjoying a triumphant homecoming. One of the best-known faces on Lebanese TV, this outspoken political broadcaster moves with a determined shuffle. The legacy of an assassination attempt that left her horribly maimed, losing a leg and an arm. Now she's finally back, after 8 months of painful recuperation in France.
I was a little bit, not afraid, but anxious. I wanted to get down from the airplane and to take the stairs with confidence. I didn't want anybody to see me falling, for example. Whenever the door was open and I saw all the people waiting for me, I was so touched.
May Chidiac believes she was targeted for criticising the Syrians, key power brokers of Lebanese politics. Greeted by cabinet ministers, colleagues and family, she remains defiant.
تقطع بعض أجزائي ولكن مي شيدياع ما زالت مي شيدياع، رجل اصطناعية ولكن العقل هو العقل، يد اصطناعية ولكن القلب هو القلب، جروح في الجسد.
A devout Maronite Christian, her first stop is this monastery, the very place where she nearly died. In a country deeply fractured by religious divide, May Chidiac was part of a movement that united Christian and Muslim. It was called the Cedar Revolution, a massive display of national outrage, triggered by the assassination last year of Lebanon's popular former Prime Minister, Rafik Hariri. Syria, whose troops had occupied Lebanon for 3 decades, was blamed for his murder. The momentum of the Cedar Revolution finally forced the Syrian army to withdraw. But as the widows at this service could bitterly attest, 11 other prominent critics of Syria were also killed in a wave of car bombings. They were all men. Despite death threats, May Chidiac believed she was safe, protected by an informal code of chivalry.
I considered myself spared because first I was a woman. It's the first time they attack a woman in Lebanon. I'm the only one and I hope I will be the last one.
One evening last September, as she left the monastery and got into her car, a kilo of plastic explosive under the driver's seat was detonated.
When I closed the door, they decided to push the button to provoke the explosion. They didn't know that they didn't notice maybe that I was turning toward the back seat.
It was that movement that shielded her from the full force of the blast.
I didn't know by that time that my leg was cut, and I didn't know that I was about to lose my hand and my arm also, because I used all the effort I had to push myself out of the car. I was afraid that there will be a fire in the car. I stayed 2 months at the hospital in Lebanon. I had 25 surgeries. I had very difficult time here in Lebanon. And then I was transported to France.
The attack brought protesters onto the streets carrying balloons, all of them pink, her trademark colour. Even those opposed to her politics came out in solidarity.
The prime suspect in all those, including in Prime Minister Hariri's assassination, is still the Syrian regime. Targeting May was an attempt to get people to simply say, we've had it, we can't do anything anymore. And this is why, first, the fact that May survived and the horror of the attempt made people produce the exact opposite reaction, a reaction of great indignation and solidarity, including people who, of course, disagreed with May.
No one was arrested for the attack, and the Syrian government denied involvement. For May, the message was brutally clear.
They intended to silence me, to explain to the others, to all the other Lebanese people, that they can silence everybody.
Now, after an extraordinary recovery, she's back. But this joyous reunion is to be short-lived. Just 2 days after her return, Israeli bombs begin falling on Beirut.
Hell opened its doors. It was terrible. I heard about Hezbollah imprisoning the 2 Israeli soldiers and the operation in the south, but we were not expecting such a reply and an answer from the Israelis. It was above all the expectations. They destroyed the whole country.
With Lebanon plunging into another crisis, May decides to go back on air as soon as possible. She now travels flanked by bodyguards, a reluctant concession to the realities of public life.
I have to get used to the new situation. I prefer to be independent. I have always been so much independent, but I have no choice. I'm anxious also about the reaction of the people watching me. They are expecting a lot from me, and I hope I'll be on the same level as their expectations.
May is welcomed back to the Lebanese Broadcasting Corporation, the LBC, where she's worked as a journalist for 20 years. The LBC was established during the Civil War as a propaganda outlet for the Lebanese Forces Christian militia. Since then, it's evolved into one of the most watched networks in the Middle East and transmitted to the Lebanese diaspora around the world. Now, May Chidiac, the woman hailed as a living martyr, has returned to the hot seat.
مساء الخير. 25 أيلول 2005 25 تموز 2006 10 أشهر عذرا على التأخير. طالت الغيبة ولكنكم تعرفون وتعذرون.
And there's only one topic of discussion, the war.
قد تكون هناك قوافل أكبر من الشهداء ومحاولة أكبر لاغتيال لبنان، ولكن من رحم الآلام ستكون الولادة.
She confronted the Syrians in her typically forceful style. Now May Chidiac treads where few other public figures dare, taking on the militants of Hezbollah, whom she blames for starting this war.
Yes, I'm angry with Hezbollah because they took this decision by their own. They didn't discuss about it with anybody. They took the whole country as a hostage to reach what they wanted. But it was miscalculated, and this is what I'm saying. I'm not against them. I'm against what they did, what they provoked.
The war may be continuing, but in North Beirut, people are attempting to regain some sense of normality in their lives. The cafes are filling, the shops are open, and Beirut's familiar traffic jams have returned. But barely 2 kilometres south of the city centre, it's like you're in a different country. This is a domain of Hezbollah. This is the area that the Israelis continue to pound. Hezbollah, or the Party of God, sees itself as the guardian of Lebanon's Shia Muslims. The movement has control over South Beirut and parts of southern Lebanon. Its authority here now is absolute. We're directed to film rubble, not Hezbollah officials. Today the streets are deserted. 200,000 residents have been evacuated on Hezbollah's orders. Still, this man claims there have been casualties here. Some people simply refuse to leave their homes.
في منطقة ثانية هناك تحت، هون دقيقتين بس مشوار الطريق، دقيقتين. 5 عيال تحت البناية. نزلت عليهم البناية كلياتها، استهدفوها المنطقة كلياتها هونيك. بعضهم هونيك. تحت نزلت عليهم البناية مثل ما هي.
This area is known to all Beirutis as the security zone, where Hezbollah's administrative and political headquarters are located, among the residential towers. Hezbollah claims there was nothing surgical about this airstrike, that the Israelis dropped a huge bomb that sucked the oxygen out of the air.
هيدا المجمع سيد الشهداء.
هيدا مجمع، ضربوه فراغي هن ضربوه. نزلوا على حالهم.
It was hit by a vacuum bomb.
What is a vacuum bomb?
شو هي فراغية؟ شو يعني فراغية؟
يعني بتسحب الأكسجين هي.
اوكي.
ما بتقطعها بتسحب الأكسجين من الباب التربة يضربوه على حاله.
اوكي.
بنطحن يعني حتى بالشظايا.
Unseen, high in the sky, we hear a pilotless Israeli surveillance drone hunting for targets.
Just observing the area.
Right.
Okay.
Do they ever get any warning?
المقصد الكلام إنه مشان أنا ما بدي شو اسمه. المقصد الكلام إنه مشان إنه في عندهم رحمة. ما عم بيميزوا.
They are warning us that maybe it's a little bit dangerous to stay here because there are airplanes around, so they may hit.
Back at the LBC, May prepares for another show. With her movement severely impaired, she relies on reporters, such as Bassam Abu Zaid, to be her eyes and ears. Today's assignment, to report the growing refugee crisis. Nearly 1 million people, a quarter of Lebanon's population, have been forced to flee their homes. Bassam visits one of 150 schools in Beirut, now operating as refugee centres.
We have here in this school 460 people. And here the Caritas, this is a organization, Lebanese organization, and they will do it everything to bring help for these people, especially for children.
مرحبا عم. يعطيك العافية، كيفك؟ منيح؟
The sick and elderly are clearly bewildered. Lebanon's deep sectarian divide is forgotten as Catholic nuns help Shia Muslims, many of whom are passionate supporters of Hezbollah. Mona Quake, a South Beirut primary school teacher, has been here for 15 days now.
Your house, is it still standing or has it been
Until now, we
destroyed?
didn't know anything about our house because it's dangerous to walk there because Israeli attack will be by surprise. You don't know when.
For the poor of South Beirut, the Hezbollah activists have always been more than just fighters. They provided social services, which the government couldn't or wouldn't. Community support has been translated to growing political power, and 2 Hezbollah members serve in the Lebanese cabinet.
They think that if they destroy building, they destroy Hezbollah. It's false. Hezbollah in every one of us, because he defends in our land. If Israeli people think like that, they're stupid, because Hezbollah in every one of us, not in building, in stones, in our soul.
And for those who have lost everything, this is a potent symbol of that struggle. The Hezbollah channel, Al-Manar TV, still defiantly broadcasting from a secret location after an Israeli airstrike destroyed the station.
It's the secret of success of Hezbollah. Look, if even they destroy the station of Hezbollah, I will say to Hezbollah, come to my house and make a station. It's not a problem.
Hezbollah isn't the only target. High above the city lies the wreckage of LBC's transmission tower, hit by Israeli missiles. A colleague of Bassam's died under the rubble here.
The Israelis, they said they are targeting the towers of TVs, and for the mobile phone, they're speaking about the Hezbollah. They are using this towers, but it's not true. It's not true.
The LBC has managed to stay on air, but much of Lebanon's infrastructure now lies in ruins. 80% of major roads have been cut, schools, hospitals and airports bombed.
How much damage has been done in infrastructure to
Here?
Lebanon so far? Yeah,
In Lebanon?
in this war in the last couple of weeks.
The government said today $2 billion and $20 million.
Before the war, Hezbollah proudly marched down the same South Beirut streets that are now reduced to rubble. Under the peace deal that ended Lebanon's 15-year civil war in 1990, Hezbollah was the only faction, outside the weak National Army, permitted to keep its weapons. May Chidiac says this concession is still deeply resented by many.
I'm not against Hezbollah because they are a part of Lebanon. They are a big community in Lebanon. But what I'm against is that I cannot understand why do they have to keep their weapons and be the only one who can decide for the whole country.
But many Lebanese disagree. At a rally in downtown Beirut, the yellow flags of Hezbollah are flying. But so too are those of a number of Lebanon's other political factions. For this crowd, the war is now a patriotic defence of the homeland, with Hezbollah holding its own against Israel's military might, something that no Arab National Army has done in decades. Their hero, Hezbollah leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. They're closely watched by troops of Lebanon's National Army, which has stayed out of the conflict. No Lebanese government dares order the military to disarm Hezbollah, fearing such a move would fragment the army along religious lines and spark another civil war. Ibrahim al-Masawi, international editor of Hezbollah's Al-Manar TV, claims 80% of the country now backs the struggle, and that May Chidiac has got it wrong.
I'm sorry for what happened to her. She's a colleague in the whatever, but I believe maybe she's under tremendous effect because what happened to her. But you can't go and talk to the people that Hezbollah represent. You're talking about 1.5 million people. You go ask them. They tell you, we're ready to sacrifice our blood, our families, our houses for the sake of Hezbollah and Nasrallah.
But with Iran and Syria supplying the missiles that rain down on Israel, May Chidiac asks, who is Hezbollah really fighting for?
The question in the mind of many Lebanese people and politicians to whom Hezbollah will offer this victory, to Lebanon or to Syria and Iran.
May draws her strength from her family. Her sisters and mother act as confidants and advisors. They've encouraged her through a turbulent career, nursed her through a long rehabilitation, and seem slightly apprehensive over what the future holds.
Yes, it's very risky, but she loves her work, and we are proud of her because maybe she has been attacked because she was special.
Do you worry about that?
Yes, of course, but I'm always with her when she goes to her work, so I don't know if...
You have to worry also about yourself now.
I'm always with her, so I have to worry about myself too.
May Chidiac is now considering a political career with one of the Christian factions. Even those not impressed by her politics feel she still has a lot to offer Lebanon.
May doesn't come from a political family. I think it would always be beneficial for somebody like May, from her background, to represent whatever she wants to represent. I would like to see a woman who is there also to represent women problems rather than simply play the politician.
She's never balked at giving her opinion, regardless of the consequences. But for May Chidiac and Lebanon, these are indeed dangerous times.
If something bad will arrive to me again, I don't know. this will be my destiny. I cannot say anything else because I cannot be afraid of the future. I cannot be afraid of being attacked again. I'm still thinking that I had a cause to defend. It's the cause of Lebanon.